Howdy folks, this is Checkers, and this is Fallout New Vegas, and we are in Zion. For the life of me, I can't remember the name of the DLC. It's something Hearts. Honest Hearts, maybe? You may notice on my other Fallout New Vegas videos that I claim it as Sierra Madre instead of Dead Money. The reason for that is every time I use the terms Dead Money, the video is demonetized. So, Sierra Madre it is. Anyway, I thought I'd do a little update to cover some of the things that are left over from 2019 and maybe talk a little bit about where we're going in 2020. As 2019 ended, I had a few issues. I went to visit my family and I couldn't get my mic to work. Now, this is my mic. It does work, so thank you to everyone who offered to help me with that. The problem, as I suspected, was the cable. Now, it may just be possible, I'm not pointing any fingers here, but it may just be possible that there were some very small punctures in the cable, about, kind of fang-sized, maybe belonging to some small furry creature. Well, one that, might be a little fuzzy, a little feline, but I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm just saying. I got back home and the old cable is still wired up, of course, and everything works fine. I hope. I haven't listened to this yet, so we'll see. I guess I should have tested that before I got started. Well, live theater, folks, sort of. Sort of. I mean, for me it is, anyway. Okay, let's see, what else? Oh, I threw my back out. Someone asked me what that meant. Or what it meant for me. People have different definitions of that. And fortunately, I went through both stages, so I can explain. The first stage is, I do something and my lower back is damaged. I have degenerative disc disease, and the first time I did something wrong, my muscles clamped down, but my spine stayed in alignment. That hurts, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal. It's unpleasant, it is really uncomfortable, it is painful. But there is a second thing that happens. Sometimes it's the first thing to happen, sometimes I get unlucky like this time, and it's the second thing to happen. I threw my back out. I had that first muscle spasm before I left, and while I was away, about 3 days in, my back actually went out. Now, what that means is, imagine a stack of coins. Say a stack of quarters, or, something about an inch around in diameter. Now, push the bottom of the stack out. Just a little bit. If you're careful, what happens is the bottom of the stack goes out, but the top sort of stays where it is. And that's what happened to me. Somehow the bones are moving. I can feel it. It hurts unbelievably bad. But some of the other exciting, side effects are my feet alternatively go numb, or this one was new. It was like someone drove a 9-inch nail in between my toes right through the center of my foot, like deep into, like, long ways. Like, imagine if you kicked a nail straight on, kind of like that. So, good times. Mostly better now. It takes a while, and rest and lidocaine patches and everything. I've got a little device that you can, it has sort of sticky electrodes, and you can put it on your back and it runs an electric shock through, and it basically just tires the nerves and muscles out. That really does help. But anyway, for all those who were curious about what that meant when I said that my back was out, that's what I meant. And how can I tell that I look like a stack of coins that's been pushed to the side? Well, my hips and my shoulders are a little wider than my hips. So, you know, but they're symmetric, right? My hips are in the middle of my shoulders if you look at me straight on. When I throw my back out, my left hip is outside my left shoulder. So it's actually a fairly significant shifting in my spine, and it hurts. But, you know, it happens. I believe what is sort of the problem. My problems are my neck and my spine and my knees and, the whole blacking out thing. Okay, so we've got a lot of problems. But in this particular instance, I think the whole spine thing comes from falling out of a tree when I was a kid and landing like a lawn dart on my head. At least when I mentioned a couple of years ago these problems to my father, he was like, yeah, that's what happened. And I do remember that. That was probably the most pain I'd felt as a child. But anyway, I digress. Or do I? I was actually explaining a point. But anyway, so that's 2019. Here and gone, for the most part. Some people wonder, and this isn't meant to be a complaint, but I've had a lot of people ask me, is YouTube a viable business? Can you live off this? Some people unquestionably do. At my level, no, you cannot. I just took a look at whether or not I would A, have to file taxes, and B, how much I made, so that if I did have to pay taxes, I could have a general idea of what was going on. And I made not enough money to pay for 3 months of rent in the city on just basically the low end of rent. That's no food, no bills, no medical, no nothing. So that's how much I made, and that's over the entire year. So in reality, I wouldn't have made it a month when you consider medical and things like that. Now, I'm not complaining. When you spend like almost a decade making absolutely nothing from having a career, making that kind of money is so cool. I have some, how do you call it, financial freedom, let's say. I can buy games. I can't buy as many as I did before, but, I feel very lucky to have done this. But if you're trying to figure out whether YouTube is like a viable thing for a real life, I mean, if you're lucky, yeah. I was lucky at the beginning and then a little bit less as I moved along. Again, I'm not complaining. It's just, people ask me that question, so I thought I'd throw out the answer. Going forward, well, in general, I think we will have, of course, Oblivion and Fallout New Vegas until either everyone gets really bored of them and no one's watching them anymore. It's strange. The views are really strange. Sometimes they fluctuate between one series or the other, and sometimes one just drops away completely. Fallout New Vegas, for instance, is considerably behind Oblivion. Not that that really overwhelmingly matters to me. What matters most is if I'm having fun and if I feel that it's a fun thing to watch. Ultima will be here and there. I may not get to it this week. That's not Ultima's fault. That's just me trying to reassemble back home and not having been quite ready. Our live episodes will begin next week, probably, unless I get Ultima out. So New Vegas for Friday the 10th I made before I left, and then we'll be back live theater-ish. As for live things in general, anything can happen. It's got a good possibility, though. And there are some new things that I was gifted during the holidays that we might just well take a look at. Not like by developers or anything. I'm not that cool. But from friends. And yeah, one or two of them showed some fascinating promise. And all in all, this is really going to be an exciting year. I mean, we've got Mountain Blade, Bannerlord, Mountain Blade 2, Bannerlord, whatever it is. It's Bannerlord. And I should know that. I love the game. I just can't remember. Also, we've got Cyberpunk 2077 coming up. That's going to be exciting. And I know there are more things on the horizon. There are some very exciting things happening. The folks who made Arena and Daggerfall and parts of Morrowind are getting together with another YouTuber. I believe his name is Indigo Gaming. He's got a really fun channel if you want to check him out. But they are going to work on a spiritual successor to Daggerfall. And that, to me, is very exciting. Another exciting thing is I picked up some of my old Ultima box items. So I have a few clue books. So if you watch the Ultima series, I try and play Ultima as if it were that time period. And then the rain just stopped. Anyway, so no walkthroughs, no maps. You know, I'm trying to take my own notes and use the manuals and get through. There's also no music in it. There's no music because the DOS version didn't have any music, and I would not have been able to patch in the music. Now, Ultima 5, when we get there, is going to be a little different because my memory tells me that I did have music for that, and I did have a sound card. So we may see that. But what I did pick up were the Ultima 5 and 6 clue books. These were originally printed by Origin, not like a third party. So they're not actually guides. They don't tell you exactly what to do. They are more what they say, hint or clue books. And but we will have access to those for at least 5 and 6. And I have a cloth map. I think it's from 7. But it might help me in those moments when I can't really Alt-Tab out into OneNote to see what's going on. Why Ultima? Well, if you've never played Ultima, Ultima has probably affected everything you've played. I mean everything. People don't always remember things accurately. People seem to think that, say for instance, first-person point of view in games came about with like Looking Glass's Ultima Underworld 1 or 2, but really there was first person in Ultima at least back into 4 when you were in the Underworld, which is why the Underworld is first person. So in Ultima you have the overworld where you travel and you do your quests, but you can also go into dungeons, which is called the Underworld, and that's in a first person point of view. But even before that you have wizardry and, well, actually I'm not really certain of the genesis of, say, the original Ultimas 1, 2, and 3, and Akalabeth, sort of Ultima 0, versus wizardry. But let's just say that the original first-person views that I'm aware of come from grid-based role-playing games, like Might and Magic. You might have seen me play that a while back, just for a look. But wizardry, you know, they were skeletonized, just, you know, lines, but your party was traveling with a first-person view. Isometric RPGs were not the start. I don't actually know if they were even the very first, to be honest. But yeah, so Ultima has a long and deep history in games, and I think not only that, it has an emphasis on things that I kind of feel we lack these days. Everyone's willing to make a game, and everyone's terrified to do anything that's not combat-oriented, lest the internet rip them all apart. You can play fun games that aren't combat-oriented. You can actually have things that are philosophical and include combat. Just like the real world. It's crazy, I know. But everyone seems to shy away from more philosophical questions, and Ultima never really did that. Sometimes they were simplified, sometimes they were just flat out simple. But it was a series that made you think about what you were doing. And especially back in the day, gaming the system wasn't really a thing. And to this day, you won't see me ever like min-max or, try to game a system too much. I mean, I might for, fun videos like, what happens when Liberty Prime gets into the Institute or something. Using console commands to make a fun video that is very specifically a fun video. That's one thing for me, but I like to play the game as it was intended, or at least as close as I'm able to play as intended. And yeah, that's kind of my jam. And that's kind of a factor of my gaming past. Another factor of my gaming past, one of the reasons I don't just like breeze through a game instantaneously, is Ultima. Because when you finish the main quest in Ultima, you go back to Earth. So the way Ultima works, in general, you are a normal human, you are yourself in your home, and you are summoned or called or teleported into this alternate world of Britannia, and you there either are trying to become the Avatar or a hero, or you've already become the Avatar and you are trying to see what's going on in the world. And so when you complete all of that, it sends you back to your own world. And I have to be honest, when I played Ultima, I met characters and I did things and I wanted to know more about them. I wanted to do more things with them. So whenever I finished that main quest and it kicked me out, it was like, wow, that is not what I intended. And a lot of times, especially if you're not careful, you have one save in Ultima. So if you get to the end and you don't quite exactly realize it, there's no going back except to restart everything. So these days, I very gingerly move forward and try, especially with, say, like Bethesda games where I have the kind of freedom to do that, I will stay away from the main quest line as if it were radioactive cursed poison. Unless, we're doing a Let's Play and that's sort of the course we're on. Because I just don't want the experience to end. And so that's another reason why Ultima. It is something that shaped me, not just as a gamer, but as an individual. A game that made me think about, well, what does it really mean to cheat a blind woman who's selling me reagents? Do I really want to be that kind of person? Not just in the game, but in my life, because you can't help but draw parallels to things, and I was never that kind of person. But Ultima definitely helped reinforce that. It made me think about things that I had not yet been introduced to in my real life. So that's why Ultima is so important to me. It is much more challenging for me to go back, especially to Ultima 4, which is a game I didn't play in the past. 5, 6, 7, they might be easier for me. We'll see how it all goes and whether or not we all get there. But there are a lot of new things to look forward to this year. Like I said, Bannerlord and Cyberpunk, and I'm hoping I can do all of these things. I can't recall if I mentioned this. I think I did mention in one of the videos that there is a disturbance with my parathyroid. It is not, as far as I can tell from everything I've read, that doesn't explain me blacking out. But what I think I have unquestionably discovered about me blacking out is that more than exertion, it's heat. It's just that when I exert myself, I start to generate heat, and I don't think my body can handle it. Because if I don't exert myself and you make me hot, I will shut down. And so that was, I'm sort of mentioning this so that if I ever listen to this again in the future, I will remember it. My memory is more damaged now, and I'm sorry about that. It's going to make me say things that I'm not going to remember and do things that I will forget. And those are not intentional. I've tried everything. I take notes and I lose the notes. I take notes in one note and then I take more notes, and so there are like probably 24 tabs, and I lose them because I forget they exist because they're off screen. And you don't look for things that you don't know exist. So I'm really sorry that I will forget. It is not intentional. It is not meant to be a slight. You know, you may see that I haven't answered a comment you've made or something. Sometimes I see it, but I don't have time to answer, and I think to myself, I'll answer it in a couple of minutes, and I forget. So I never try and, you know, forget on purpose or intend to be disrespectful. Sometimes I forget. And that's okay. It has to be, because when I struggle against remembering and forgetting, it gets worse. Don't know why, but it does. It's like trying to grasp sand or hold water in your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the faster you lose it. Anyway, this has probably gone on long enough. I just thought I'd give everyone a little bit of an overwinded update about, well, the end of last year and the beginning of this year, and now I will say thank you so very much for watching. I hope you found the video informative, if not overwhelmingly entertaining. And, yeah. You know, for years I've been saying, if you'd like to subscribe, please do, and thank you. And I do say thank you, still. But the like and the share and the please subscribe, you know, I don't know. I don't know if it helps ever, for one thing, but maybe it's just not the most important thing to say when it's time to wrap up. Maybe then the most important thing to say, as always, is be happy, and please, please, take care.